What's up, everybody? My name is Bobby Borg, also known as Coach. How's it going? And today, what I'm going to do is do a quick review of company branding and product branding. Okay, so just a really quick overview. So the first thing is, let's understand what branding is. Branding is the process of communicating your identity with the intention of creating a positive image in the minds of your fans, and that image should be something that's memorable and distinct from the competition, of course, right? The reason why, obviously, that you want to do this is because the marketplace is so crowded with so many other musicians and so much other music that you really have to find something that's going to leave an indelible impression on your audience. And there's a number of ways that you could do that. The first way is doing it through your name. So coming up with a name that is very intentional, that immediately is an identifier, right? I mean, we all have names. My name is Professor Bobby Borg, also known as Coach, legal name, Robert Michael Borg. That's a brand. Your name is a brand. But when you're a music artist, coming up with something maybe that connotes your style of music or connotes something about your personality. A couple of names that I really like is Marilyn Manson. I love that name simply because when you think of Marilyn, you think of Marilyn Monroe, the beautiful movie star. And when you think of Manson, you think of Charles Manson, the facilitator of murder. And you put glamour and murder together, and that's essentially exactly what Marilyn Manson's style is. So it already kind of plants it into your mind, these two different images. I love stuff like that. The second thing that you can actually do is create a logo. A logo is very, very important because a big way that independent artists are going to make money is from merchandising. So if you have a cool logo that you could put on a hat, you could put on your shirt, is very important. Then, of course, you can also use that for promotional purposes. Put that on your bass drum, put that on the backdrop. It's an immediate identifier to your brand. It doesn't matter if you're a band or a solo artist, you can have a logo. And there's essentially four different types. There's what's called a word mark, where it's just your name in a cool font. There's something called a letter mark, where it's your acronym, the acronym of your name, with maybe a cool font. Then there's what's called a brand mark, which is just the image. And then there's what's called a combined mark, which is the most popular, which is essentially a word mark or a letter mark with an image. Couple examples. Look at 9 Inch Nails. That would be an example of like a letter mark. Look at the Rolling Stones tongue. That would be an example of like a brand mark. Okay. All right. So moving on. Then another important thing is maybe you might have a slogan. It's not necessary to have a slogan, but it could be cool. The band AC/DC used to use high voltage rock and roll. So it's just like, that sums everything up, right? AC/DC, high voltage rock and roll. ZZ Top, that little old band from Texas. And then other artists have like little sayings and things that they use that become identifiable with their brand, like Chappell Roan used "I'm your favorite artist's favorite artists," just things like that. It's meant to stick in the minds of the audience. You could have a mascot. The most famous mascot is Iron Maiden's Eddie the Head, but Kanye West had Dropout Bear. Avenged Sevenfold has the Death Bat. And then, of course, we can even think of the gorillas as being the mascots themselves, right? Mascots give a little bit more personality to an artist than they might already have. Most artists have a personality to begin with, but the mascot is really nice because it gives that little extra dimension. It's something for the fans to relate to. And it's great, obviously, for your merchandise, too. Express your personality. A personality is very, very important, and carrying yourself consistently is very, very important. So in one word, can you sum up the personality of yourself or of the artist you're representing? So you might say Ed Sheeran is down to earth. You might say Taylor Swift is relatable. You might say Billie Eilish is creative. And if you think of those 3 examples I gave you, and then think of those words that I gave you, you can really seamlessly put that word through literally everything that they do, and it makes sense. Like Taylor Swift, she's very relatable in interviews. She's very relatable in the pictures she shows. Here's Taylor Swift hanging out with her cats and stuff. She's very relatable in the lyrics that she writes, right? So it really helps to have one word and then really pay attention to whether or not you're, seamlessly like weaving that throughout your entire brand. Other things that are very kind of interesting to look at is fashion and style. There's so many different approaches to fashion and style. Chappell Roan kind of has that drag-inspired high fashion sort of style. Nicki Minaj is kind of over the top and a little bit sexual. Ed Sheeran is kind of down to earth and plain. Tekashi 6ix9ine with the tattoos on his face and stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of extreme and over the top maybe, but everybody has a different image. So, and Sabrina Carpenter is now kind of doing that like Betty Boop kind of vibe with the corsets and stuff like that and the cute dresses. So personality is a very, very important part of your brand. Also, identifying values, attitudes, beliefs. Kendrick Lamar is associated with social justice, Lizzo, self-love, being able to tell your story. So, when we think of Eminem and we think of his kind of angry lyrics, and then we understand his story and that he was bullied when he was a kid and had substance abuse issues and tried to commit suicide, and there was a lot of family dysfunction. It just kind of wraps it all up and it just makes it make more sense. We kind of feel for him a little bit more. We understand them a little bit more. So being able to wrap up your history and kind of about who you are is a very important part of your branding. And then of course you're going to put all of this, weave all this through your lyrics and your Instagrams and reels and shorts. Also, who you associate with is a very big part of your brand. Doing collabs is a very important part of your brand. Associating with any social causes is a very big part of your brand, right? And even like branding yourself with a certain territory, like the whole Long Beach thing, or Cypress Hill. Cypress Hill is actually an area, and kind of like branding yourself with that area is kind of making a statement, right? All right, moving on. Another thing that you could do with your branding is create a hand gesture. Like Lady Gaga had the monster claw, and Dio had the horns, and like Gene Simmons had the rock on thing, and Jay-Z had the diamond thing for Rockefeller Records. And there's so many people that create these like symbolisms. It's a way to kind of connect with your audience and engage with them a little bit more. Another thing is to brand yourself with dance moves. You can come up with a dance move like Michael Jackson's moonwalk, Shakira's like belly dance, Axl Rose's snake dance, like Snoop Dogg's Crip walk, James Brown's split, there's hammer dances, hammer time dance, you keep on going on and on and on. And these days, I don't see why like an independent artist can't create like a signature dance and keep on repeating it over and over, like in videos and things like that, until it sort of sticks to the minds of the fans. Another thing that's important in branding is that people want to feel like they belong to a family and something bigger than them. So create a family, create a club, name your fans, the Deadheads, the Swifties, the Kiss Army, the Army for BTS, it was so easy. All you have to say is, all right, Borgsters, see you later, or all right, music marketers, or all right, team, or whatever. It creates a little bit more of sort of engagement because people feel like now they're part of your family, so to speak, right? All right, so these are all important branding elements that you should think about. And then, of course, when we talk about positioning is how you're going to wrap that all up in a bow, and just to kind of give you an idea of what I mean by that. All of those things are like elements of your brand, but then like in a nutshell, like what is that one defining thing? So if I told you, this is a quiz, if I told you a mixed-race female pop R&B singer with a 5-octave vocal range, who would that be? Like out of all of the singers in the world, who would that likely be? Can we boil it down to somebody? It would be, it would be Mariah Carey, right? Out of all of the people out there, that's kind of one of her defining features, right? So think about what your positioning statement is. Very, very important. Now, all of the things that we just talked about also relate to your products as well. This is something a lot of people don't understand, that product branding and company branding are two different things. So you have to brand your records. You have to brand your songs. You have to brand your t-shirts. You have to brand your tours. And in the best case scenario, they have what's called a combined brand architecture. That means the architecture of the company brand is combined with the product brand. So in other words, they're seamless. They go together. They match. So you have to make sure that your name and your personality and your look match the album title name, match the song names, match the tour name, match the t-shirts that you're selling. It's all got to be one consistent package. Okay? So yes, you can brand a song, you can brand an album, you can brand a t-shirt. Right? Just to give you a kind of a crazy thing, like Beyonce, when she sells her t-shirts, she calls them Beytes, right? Beytes. Or another group, Mastodon, a really heavy metal band. When they were selling shorts, they called them Astodons, right? So that's a brand, okay? Another example is Cypress Hill, when they did their tour. Think about what Cypress Hill is, right? It's kind of like hard edge, sort of rap, rock, and they smoke a lot of pot, right? So what did they name their tour? The Cypress Hill Smokeout. Makes sense to me. What's the slogan? An all-day mind-opening experience. Perfect. What are the colors? Green. What are the fonts? Graffiti-looking fonts. Does that all make one package? Yes. And that's what's really important, because branding sends messages to your target audience, and then they sort of digest those messages and they come up with an image of you in their minds. And the better that you present those messages to them, the clearer they're going to have an image of you, and the closer it is going to be the image that you want them to have of you. So branding needs to be very, very intentional. You don't just throw stuff out and hope it works. You have to think about literally everything that you do. So that's a little summary of the lecture. All right, you guys, and don't forget, all of the stuff that I talked about is in Music Marketing for the DIY Musician. So do your reading. And that's it. Office Hours with Coach Professor Bobby Borg. Peace, love. Don't forget, a lot of this stuff is going to be on my YouTube channel, youtube.com, and then go to, youtube.com/Bobby Borg, and then go to the live button, click on that live button, and you'll see like all of the live sessions that I do. If you guys have questions, reach out to me. You can go to my website, bobbyborg.com, and then click on contact me, and you can leave a message, and I'll make sure to answer them in these short little live sessions that I do with you guys. This is called Office Hours, and that's what we got. It's raining out, so I'm doing it from inside today, and that's it, you guys. Thank you. Take care. Peace.